Hi, I'm Jack Davis, and welcome to the second episode of The Zone. With me, as always, my co-host, Bobby Maylack.
Every week we're excited to talk to you guys about sports, and athletes are always judged by their performance on the field, but more and more it seems that they're being judged off the field, which is why we're really excited to have this week's guest, someone who has insight on what it's like to be in the public eye, and who's also a huge sports fan, Patrick Schwarzenegger.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to talk about some sports.
We love sports on this show. So Patrick, I know you're a big Lakers fan.
Yep.
Clippers just went for $2 billion. Steve Ballmer. Lakers missed the playoffs. Clippers make the second round. Are you nervous that this town could turn into a Clippers town?
Not at all. I mean, first off, let's start by saying that the $2 billion I think is very overvalued. Like 9 years ago or something, they were worth less than $500 million, and then all of a sudden they've jumped up to $2 billion. I mean, what does that make the Knicks worth? $10 billion, the Lakers $10 billion? No, I think that's first off an overvalued purchase, and I think that the Clippers are an overrated team. I think they have a great starting five, they have a good bench, great coach, and they're in Los Angeles, but I think they're behind the eyes of the Lakers. And how many times do we have to count how many times the Lakers have made it to the second round of the playoffs? If we had an exciting, parade for that every time, we'd be, the biggest party animals ever. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it's still Lakers town. I think it will be until the Clippers get 17 championships. So I think we're fine for the next whatever years.
Do you think this is a front-running city? Like, is that the question? Because the talk in town was all about the Clippers, even though it's always been about the Lakers. Do you think the Lakers are so popular just because they have been winning? Do you think that'll shift if we see the Clippers continue to play well and the Lakers continue to not?
No, I still think the Lakers, as long as Kobe's still here, they have one of the greatest players of all time still on their team. We're a very injury-prone team right now. We had Kobe out. We had most of our starting five. We only played like 3 games the whole season with our starting five. And so I think next year, if we get a good draft choice, or if we trade the draft pick for someone like Kevin Love or whoever they can get out of that, or future pick, then I think that will be fine next year or in 2 years, depending on what kind of coach they get. And I think the Lakers will be right back to the playoff seeds or continuing to do better than the Clippers will. I don't see the Clippers winning a championship in the near future. So
let's use that to segue into our next topic. Who do you think the next Lakers coach should be?
Man, I would love if one of the top college coaches would come, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. And then someone that can still stick with Phil Jackson's kind of mentality and coaching sensibility. I think that D'Antoni was horrible. I never agreed with his coaching strategies, and the Lakers weren't a team that would spread the floor and didn't have the great three-point shooters like D'Antoni needed. And not all the credit should go to, or not all the terrible credit should go to D'Antoni, since we had a lot of injured players. But someone like Kurt Rambis I think would be great, since he knows a lot of Phil Jackson's views on coaching. And a big person that I've heard in the talks would be Derek Fisher. I don't know if that would be a great coach, even though Jason Kidd did a decent job this time for his first time coaching, but he was in the East Coast, and the East Coast is a,
much worse conference.
Exactly.
Now, do you think that's holding on to the past too much? I feel like some things with the Lakers are still trying to hold on to those Phil Jackson years instead of trying to find what's next.
And I also feel like they have no direction, because I feel like before they pick a coach, they got to decide what they want. Do they want to win next year? Do they want to sign a free agent, try to make a trade? Do they want to rebuild?
That's a big choice for Mitch Kupchak to decide. Do they want to go for the last, Kobe's last chance basically next year? Do they want to try to stock their roster, put a bid out for Carmelo? Do they want to get a good draft choice and really nail down a great coach for this year? Or do they want to, kiss Kobe's, salary, $30 million away and try to go for future? But, if you're paying that much to a player like Kobe Bryant, and he's, this is one of his last fresh years as a player, I think that they should indeed get a great coach and try to get someone in the offseason, or at least someone that's great on the bench that could support the team, and then go from there.
You're Mitch Kupchak. What do you do? Who's the guy you go after? Is it Kevin Love? Is it Carmelo?
I would love Kevin Love more than Carmelo, even though Carmelo and Kobe said that they play the best together as any of the superstars since their relationship on the USA team.
Yeah.
But I love Kevin Love. I think he's we can put Powell up to the center like he's supposed to play, and or he can switch to the power forward when Kevin's off the bench, or he's on the bench. And K-Love can shoot the three, he can shoot the jump shot, he can, do work in the paint, rebounds, and he hustles. And I think he's a little bit younger than the rest of the the Lakers, and I think he'd be a great addition.
Do you think Kevin Love's a superstar? 6 years in the league, he puts up these numbers, 26 and 11.
I mean, he's a huge fantasy player. I mean, he gets the
Still
double-doubles.
never been in the playoffs, though.
No, he hasn't.
6 years
And but you're working with a team that drafted like what 4 point guards in the top first round of the draft
without
a few
Steph
years
Curry.
ago. Yeah, I
2
mean,
point guards not named Steph Curry.
Yeah, so they've had. It's not. I don't think it's Kevin Love's fault. And his stats are pretty great, and he's a great fantasy player. And I think he would work well with Kobe and with a good supporting cast on the Lakers. But I think they really need to, besides getting an all-star, they need to get someone on the bench. They need to put someone that's young and that would hustle and that could, have a great support when the starting five's off the court.
The Lakers haven't had a fun young player in forever.
Exactly.
We haven't like a cool,
I guess Nick Young
athletic,
is like their one person right
Since
now.
Kobe.
I do love Nick Young. Nick Young, come on the show. We
Yeah.
love you, Nick Young. But
Nick
we haven't
Young's
yet.
great. I mean, he dresses fun and he shoots crazy 3-pointers and whatnot. And I guess that's the only person that's kept some Lakers ticket sales up.
Nick Young's been the most fun. Like even when we were winning championships, we had no one who was fun and athletic and energizing. But so Patrick, you've sat courtside at a lot of games.
Yeah.
You've kind of I know you've been to All-Star games. What have you maybe learned, or even any insights that you think from being so close to the action in a few instances?
Insights as in.
Who's the best player you've ever seen live on the court?
I mean,
how much does it
I've
say
seen
that?
Jordan play, but I haven't seen him in his
His prime.
In his prime, I've seen Kobe in his prime, and that's probably the most fun player to watch. I mean, he's extraordinary player, and I've seen many games where he's had last-second 3-pointers or last-second shots, where we've won the championship, and so he's definitely been the most fun player to watch. I think LeBron James also, even though I hate the Heat and big anti-Miami Heat fan, but LeBron and Kevin Durant are.
Yeah. So one thing that I'm really interested in with you personally is you look at someone like Johnny Football. Johnny Football's a 22-year-old kid, just graduated college, goes to Las Vegas for Memorial Day, goes out to the club, no thing different than any of us are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
What is it like to be someone in the public eye? Like, what is it like to be held to these higher standards?
I mean, what breaks you makes you kind of a thing. I think that he's obviously learned a lot from his college experience. And first off, I feel that everyone's way too hard on him. Yeah. Anybody who's in college or who's gone through college, who's done the Greek system, who's partied, they can totally relate to him. I'm in college right now, so I know what kind of partying goes on. The kid's a college football star. He's praised at his school. He loves football. He's killing the game, and he has a Heisman, and he's partying. That's what I would do too. But now that the draft is done and he's going into NFL, and I think it's time that he buckles down a little bit and he prepares for the draft, and I mean for the regular season and the off season, and he really needs to kind of mature as a player and use the off seasons to get back into where he needs to be and get that starting position. So
first off, I'm just impressed that Johnny Manziel is 22 and I'm also 22.
Yeah.
You kind of hit
25, Jax. Shut up.
You hit that point as a sports fan where you're like, oh, I'm older than everyone here. Can I really be like worshiping these guys? Like when I'm watching the NBA draft, in 2 weeks or a month, whenever it is, I'm older than everyone I'm watching getting picked. That's kind of a sad realization. But for me, I think the interesting thing we want to know from your perspective is, like you said, Johnny, he's 22, he's being a normal college kid, but you live under that scrutiny.
Yeah.
You know that if you do something wrong, the public might have an outcry, people might get so upset. When you're just living your life. Me and Bobby, we mess up. No one cares.
All the time.
I act stupid outside a club, or I say something that might not be the perfectly politically correct thing. No one in the world cares. So do you think that, you can relate to athletes a little bit better, or you've ever any, college athlete friends maybe who you guys can talk about and relate, like how much extra stress and pressure it puts on you just to be yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you're kind of under the public's eye. Everything you kind of do is noticed, or in today's age, everything is videotaped on a little iPhone or anything, and it's published the next day, and they sell it for some money. So I think everyone has to kind of watch their back. But for someone like Johnny Football or any of those other college stars or people that are young in the professional sports, they that's kind of the price that you pay when you're that successful or that popular or something like that. I mean, if you would ask any of them, would you rather be in the public eye and be a amazing sports player or anything, I'm sure they would say, that's a price that I'd take to.
I just think it's so unfair because I want to hear your opinion on this, but I look at Evan Spiegel.
Of course. That's
so Evan
ridiculous.
Spiegel, for those that don't know, the Snapchat CEO. He's 23, turning 24. his frat listserv emails leak. He said some offensive
years
things
ago.
from years ago.
2009, I think,
Yeah,
right?
2009. And everyone's up in arms. People are saying boycott Snapchat. You know,
Yeah.
investors should this. Like TechCrunch writes this really kind of like diminishing
read the
article.
TechCrunch,
Yeah, Mashable writes like, oh, he really is a spoiled jerk. Like, I mean, he was talking to his friends on his frat listserv email.
Yeah.
For me, if you're gonna judge Evan Spiegel, you better never say anything offensive in front of your friends ever. You have to be, so if you're in the privacy of your home or with your friends, you better not say anything offensive because, you know, if you know, so I mean, but you are probably in that same situation where if you did something like that, it might leak because of your stature. So, you know, I mean, what do you think, Bobby?
I'm just fascinated by the idea that we can judge someone based on something entirely confidential.
Yeah.
We've all made incredible mistakes in our life. The idea that an email I sent in college could come back to burn me frightens me every day.
Yeah.
Every goddamn day.
And it wasn't that. I've seen way worse in my fraternity emails.
We've all are in fraternities.
Yeah.
You know.
So I thought it was it was a mistake. It was from 2009. He went out. He apologized about it. Boycotting Snapchat. I mean, I don't know what that'll do. And
Side note is I don't think many 12-year-old girls, which is the main users of Snapchat, know about this story.
Yeah.
Let's just take it side
And for
note. I don't think they're
TechCrunch or
gonna
for
be in
other
trouble.
bloggers and stuff to smash him about this type of an email, you know, look how far that the kid has come. You know, he's gone to Stanford. He showed this app in a class and presented it and started to, you know, gain some popularity there. And then, you know, he rejects Facebook for $2 billion. I think people can highlight more of the positive aspects of it.
And from this, you know, I really want to talk about, like I said, your experience and how we can relate it to athletes and how our figures at home can learn. Do you feel like sometimes when you're out, because again, you're 20 years old, when you're out, when you're with your friends, even when you're just going to get lunch, do you have to be kind of always maybe tiptoeing?
Yeah, you do. I mean, that's kind of the simplest way to put it. Whenever you go out or whenever you, like
do you
said,
worry
go to
about
lunch.
keeping the hair looking like that at all times?
Yes.
That's the main question.
By the way, I just came
do
from the
you
gym and it
worry
still
at
looks
all
better than
moments
both
that
of
the
them.
hair's got to look like that?
Yeah, exactly. No, you know, I texted
I worry
Jack.
at
I
all
was like,
moments that CVS is going to have Rogaine foam available. You know, I don't want to be out of my stock. But seriously, so I mean, like, what is that like? Because I mean, for me, like when I go out, if I act a fool, like I have no worries. For you, do you feel like it, you know, maybe like inhibits your life or your, you know, your experience or your college experience?
I kind of never like to have any of that stuff kind of change the person who I am or change how I act. But yeah, I'm not going to go out and be a total idiot or do something stupid or cause a fight. You know, I've had one experience that went on the social media or whatever, went on TMZ or something like that. But you know, it's popular for a day or something, and then it brushes off, and you learn from your mistakes, and it goes on. But yeah, you have to watch what you do, and it kind of sucks at times that people are always out there to get you.
You obviously have had parents who've been in the public eye,
Yeah.
you know, for as long as you've been alive.
Yeah.
How much did they prepare you for that?
A lot. I mean, they always talk about the importance of just kind of staying, you know, humble or being a gentleman or, you know, manners and how to kind of act in certain environments and just kind of being an honest, true person, not kind of one of those, you know, quote unquote stereotypical LA kids who's just a bum that kind of, you know, lives off their parents something. I want to make my own name and go out and do my own thing. So.
It's wild to even think about, you know, they were celebrities for decades. It's so much harder today. It is so much harder when you mention that anyone can have an iPhone. Every single person in the world is a member of the paparazzi.
And to bring it back to sports, like you look at Michael Jordan, who had a reputation. You know, you read books about him. You read David Halberstam's book. He was a real competitive asshole. Which, you know, we lionize that, but maybe that wouldn't be lionized the way it is for Jordan if he had to play in this day and age. Like, look at LeBron. LeBron was so scrutinized, and what did LeBron ever do? Yeah, he did the decision on TV. He kind of hurt Cleveland. He backstabbed them, so to speak.
He's a great father. He gives back to the community. He's a great teammate.
Still got crucified. Yeah. So that's why I wonder where, you know, sports legends of the past, like how would they fare today?
I mean, you even go back further. You look at Wade Boggs' famous stories about drinking 34 beers on a cross-country flight, and these guys, it's a different world. It's a different world, and I wonder.
Sports have changed, man. I mean, there'd always be some scruffles and some fights in the finals, and Lakers, Celtics. You always saw some little. But that was fun. I love watching those things. I wish it would happen more today.
How do we get back to that?
I know it's like you said, everyone gets kind of scrutinized for every little move that they do. That's kind of out of the public opinion.
Yeah. So you say, you know, you wish those moments happened more. This kind of takes us to our next topic. So what are your favorite moments as a fan? Like you said, you've been to some games.
Yeah.
Watching on TV, being in the arena. Let's just hear your best.
God, I mean, Kobe's done it so many times for me. man, the one on the shoulder against the Suns in the last second was a great shot. Against the Heat, where he had the far 3-pointer when he was falling back. I've been to a bunch of buzzer beaters with Kobe, so I mean he's always kind of been like the most fun to watch, like I've said. That's probably been the most exciting sports or game set I went to when the Red Sox won the World Series after their long drought. That was a pretty.
Yeah, I hate you. I'm from St. Louis. I was also
he was
at
in
that
St. Louis.
game. I was
Yeah,
at Busch Stadium.
Yeah.
I watched Jimmy Fallon run over our field.
Yeah, I went to that game, so that was pretty historic and a fun thing to see. And yeah.
For me, I went to Saints Vikings, that NFC Championship game in New Orleans when the Saints.
It's a Bounty Gate game.
Yeah, it turned out to be the Bounty Gate game. I didn't know that at the time. But the atmosphere that sports can create is just the best. And for me, that was my favorite game because 100,000 fans standing up the whole game cheering. It was like a high school arena, but 100,000 people in New Orleans.
Yeah. Actually, there was this year the USC-Stanford game when the USC upset Stanford was a pretty great game, and everyone rushed the field. That was a great game as well.
What do you foresee for USC football? Steve Sarkisian, what do you think of that hire? Do you think, again, we talked with the Lakers about trying to hold on too much to the Phil Jackson thing.
Yeah.
Is USC football trying to hang on to the Pete Carroll?
Yeah, I mean,
Kiffin, Sarkisian.
Sarkisian, I mean, he's worked under Carroll, so he has a lot of his coaching strategies as well. And I think they're going to do good this year. I mean, they've kind of had a rocky past with kind of their recruitments and the whole Reggie Bush thing. And so I don't think that USC was kind of placed in the most fair scenario, and they've kind of struggled with that. But I read about the draft, I mean, the recruits that they got this offseason, and they look pretty great. And
it's a pretty easy sell.
Yeah.
Going to USC is a pretty
great.
easy sell.
I mean,
the history, the city.
The girls, the parties.
Everything.
There's everything. LA, the
obvious,
weather.
Yeah. So in that vein, I mean, like USC football is like the NFL team of Los Angeles.
For sure, I think.
Why is there not an NFL team here?
It baffles me. I have zero idea. I mean, I don't know why they haven't. I remember, what was it, Farmers Insurance that was going to do sponsor the stadium, and then I don't know what happened exactly. They were going to look to make the stadium in either downtown or City of Industry, and I'm not sure where.
I never liked the City of Industry plan, though.
No, but I mean, if they would be quicker there, I think. I think downtown they had to take the convention center down and kind of make a whole. But I mean, what they've done with downtown in the last decade is pretty amazing itself. So they've kind of Phil Anschutz have basically transformed that area and made it, really nice. So
my fear is this city needs an NFL team.
They do.
But I fear that this is like the hidden ghost that gets every other city a new stadium built.
Yeah.
That when St. Louis needs a new stadium, this is the bargaining chip. When Oakland needs a new stadium, this is the bargaining chip, and it's actually more profitable for these owners.
So would you actually like the Rams to move to LA?
Absolutely
from St.
not.
Louis
I've thought about this a lot. I'm a hypocrite. I moved from St. Louis to LA, but they should stay in St. Louis.
Yeah.
St. Louis,
what do you think about adding a new team?
I think that the way that this should happen is there should be 2 expansion teams to Los Angeles. I think that this market can bear 2 teams. I absolutely do.
I agree.
I don't think any of these cities need to move. There's a couple that haven't supported their team that well, but how do you judge like a Jacksonville when they haven't been good?
I know.
Like, there's a ton of talk about.
I know if they were in LA, I don't think
you judge them because they haven't been good. That's the whole point.
Exactly. But you judge their attendance, their fandom, these things. Like it's tough to build a culture from these expansion teams when you don't win.
Yeah. They're not going to be great this year either, I don't think.
No.
So transfer, we're talking about your favorite sports moments that you've attended. I know you played basketball in high school. I've actually seen you play pickup. I don't think you could guard me, but that's another story. So what are your personal favorite sports accomplishments and moments?
Oh, man. I mean, I used to play kind of competitive, like you said, high school and different rec leagues and stuff, and then I kind of had the realization I wasn't going to make it. And
when was that moment? That is always the worst moment for all of us.
I remember my
I was
moment.
pretty good, too. I wasn't bad.
Ninth grade's too old. You were 15. You should have known the league was out.
I was good, man. And I was pretty tall. I was like 6 feet, same height as I am now.
Hoping you had another growth spurt.
Yeah, I was like, maybe
First of all,
6 inches.
I remember you and me playing in Palm Springs when I was like 6 and you were like 4. I don't know if you remember that.
I know.
I gave you buckets when you were 4. But my realization came when I was so convinced I was going to make the NBA. I went to a very small, all-white elementary school, just like a tiny school, like 15 boys in the grade. When I didn't make the A team of the 7 best kids, I'm like, okay, if I'm not one of the 7 best kids at JTD, probably not going to be in the league.
But I still love to play at the park and pick up games and all that. I mean, basketball is definitely my favorite.
So do you have a moment that sticks out, like you hit a big shot in a game in high school?
Every game, I mean, probably like one of our rival games. We always played this high school crossroads, extravaganza. Those were always fun games where I would.
I feel like it's really tough, even college sports, the NFL. I don't think anything can encapsulate what it's like to have that high school rivalry. Like that.
Yeah, I know, but now that
hatred,
I
like
now
no
that
level.
I see it, like my brother's in high school now, and he kind of goes, he's like, yeah, like we're getting crazy for the, our big extravaganza, our big rivalry, and I'm just like looking back, I'm like, why did we get so excited about it? It's kind of pathetic. But then, but in that time, it was.
It's the most
like,
important thing in the world.
thing.
That's the thing is, I think you get older.
I prepared for like a full week, like getting in the mindset.
Did you get heckled extra at all because like you're more of a public figure?
Yeah,
so
but I mean, I was friends with a lot of people at Crossroads
Okay.
at that time. But I mean, yeah, if you went to a random school or something like that, but I mean, who cares? Like they say something.
Any
whatever.
great moments like playing pickup where someone was talking trash and you just
Oh
gave
yeah,
them buckets?
I've had some fun. Yeah.
Let's hear your best pickup moment.
God, there was one time that I was at Barrington Park.
Barrington Rec.
Barrington Rec.
'Cause I also go to Barrington Rec.
Yes,
so
I
make sure
know.
you get
And
the
I
title
was,
right.
I was just putting work on this one guy. And I love to go in the paint, baby, and just back down and throw in the little Kareem hook or something here and there. And me and this one guy just got into a little scuffle, and he was saying things, and he pulled out a roundhouse kick.
Wow, Chuck Norris. You played one-on-one basketball with Chuck Norris.
He was getting like, he looked to me dead center, and he kind of straightened his, gave me
You
like
got to
a good
prepare
glance.
for a roundhouse kick.
Oh,
You gotta-
and he whipped it out, and I was so
You're a pretty
shocked.
tall guy.
He didn't
Did he
hit
get
me.
it up there?
No, he got it. He got it up to here, up to my face. But it missed from there, and I was just like, whoa! I've never had someone whip out a roundhouse kick.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. So that was probably one of my most memorable
Yeah.
pickup games.
All right, well, this was great, but before we let you go,
We got another quick question.
We got
too.
another quick question.
Tell us your
Okay.
opinions about gluten. What do you think about
Gluten.
gluten?
Oh, we
Oh
can't get
my-
out of here without talking about gluten. I guess.
Gluten
Thanks,
is
Bobby.
It's the gluten
way-
segment of the week.
I don't believe in any of that. I kind of eat what I want, but I eat healthy. As long as you keep it with the vegetables and the protein and whatnot, I think you can.
I
You
feel
can
like
eat what you want to eat. I just go work out and stuff, but I don't know the whole gluten craze in the last year.
I
And
feel like all these things are made like every 6 months. There's a new one. I don't think gluten existed in 2010.
it didn't.
I think it's a new thing.
It didn't even.
Like
just
I'm dying to meet Kale's publicists. They're doing a bang up job.
I know,
Just
right?
a great
Yeah.
job.
Well,
it's just.
I'm
people-
actually going on a kale-only gluten-free diet tomorrow, so this is all
Yeah.
blasphemy.
Well, you need it. So.
Yeah.
Just joking.
But anyway, before we let you go, NBA Finals start Thursday. Spurs Heat. Are you excited? And what's your pick?
I'm excited. I'm excited. It's kind of
Some
same
trepidation
thing.
there.
Yeah,
Would you rather
I
seen
don't know.
KD?
I mean,
Would you rather?
I get the Eastern Conference playoffs was such a bore this year. I thought I was hoping the Wizards would make it to the finals or something like that because it was just like, like the 10th or no, not maybe like probably the 10th place team in the West would be the third seed in the East.
Yeah.
It's just horrendous
Phoenix
to me,
could
and
have
it's
made the Eastern
yeah,
Conference
exactly.
Finals. I would have
No,
picked them over
yeah,
Indiana for sure.
It's truly amazing, and for what the Heat had to go through to get to the finals. I mean, even the Pacers. Come on, dude. I think the Pacers are so overrated. They're such a rocky team, and their coaching, and they just didn't even seem like a team.
They
I'm
only
surprised
played
that
5 guys. You talk about the bench for the
yeah,
Lakers.
I'm surprised that they got to they made a game 6. I thought they'd be out in 4, maybe 5. But I think, God, I hope the Spurs win because I just hate the Heat. And I think they deserve it after last year. I'm gonna go Spurs in what does it go? Is it 2-3-2? Huh? So
No, they're changing this year. It's 2-1-1-1 this year. They changed it from.
2-2-1-1-1.
Yeah.
Old school.
So it's 2-2-1-1-1. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. So wow, I think that changed it. The whole 2-3-2 was kind of a weird.
Yeah. I feel like it gave an advantage if you were able to split the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Huge
So
advantage.
actually, I don't know. I think maybe it's gonna have to go down to 7.
So who are you liking in 7?
I think Spurs in 7.
Spurs in 7?
I hope it goes 7. Make it fun.
Usually, whoever is the best player in the series wins the series. 9 out of 10 times. The Spurs are a phenomenal team, a well-coached team. They play like a team. That being said, they don't have LeBron James. They don't have Dwayne Wade. Heat in 6.
I'm going to say Heat in 6 as well.
Really?
I'm all about LeBron, man. 3 rings in a row for LeBron. I just want to think, as a fan, I want to think I'm watching greatness.
Follow up, does LeBron stay?
Yeah, of course he stays.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's a dumb question.
That's yeah. And the Spurs are so injured right now too. I mean, I hope Tony Parker is fully healthy to play and that it's like an evenly matched finals. One last question for you. Where do you think Carmelo goes?
I think he stays in New York.
I think,
Really?
I think
Yeah,
Phil
I
is
think
able
he
to
stays in
convince
New
him to stay in New York.
Really?
I think it's a weird marriage where I think he realizes he has to win there or it's going to be that monkey on his back forever.
Would you stay there?
being great in New York, there's nothing like it. If you can be the guy that wins a title in New York, as long as it's been for them, whether it's as a coach, a GM, or a player, there's nothing bigger.
So what do they need to get? New coach?
Everything.
A miracle. They need a miracle to get.
They need a new owner is what they need.
Yeah.
Really?
They've got an owner who's kind of been pretty meddlesome, but hopefully handing over the reins to someone like Phil Jackson who knows what it takes to win.
Even though he lost out on the Warriors coach.
Steve Kerr.
Anyway, well, Patrick, thank you so much
for
coming
having
on the
me, man. That was fun. It was a good time.
Hey, you should come back on again.
Maybe.
But next time your hair can be a little less fresh out the gym.
Of course.
That was a really awkward handshake. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning into The Zone. We'll be on next week. Make sure to please subscribe, comment, follow us on Twitter, follow Patrick on Twitter.
He doesn't need any more. Follow us first,
so
then
me and
follow
Bobby
him.
on Twitter. But thank you so much. We'll be back next week.